The Senate Finance, Environmental, Natural Resource Finance Committee to order Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. May the record show that we do have a quorum. First bill up, we have a long agenda today, folks, and as you know, we're going into the evening, so the testifiers try and condense their testimony if we can. We've been pretty lax up until now, and we're not going to certainly shut you off, but be mindful of that if you can, because we do have a deadline to go up against here, or we're up against. We'll start out with Senate File 3834, Senator Coleman. And with you, you have a testifier, Mr. Harris, correct? Senator Coleman, welcome again.
Thank you again, donutless, Mr. Chair, so I apologize.
I'm sorry?
I am again donutless. I know I got
the donut,
in trouble for that last time.
There's a lot of donuts laying around here today, so I think we're good to go for the day. Go ahead with your bill, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since you have such a long agenda today, rather than I explain it and he re-explain it, I'll just go straight to my testifier, if that's all right.
Okay, then all the questions will go to you, Senator. Okay,
Great.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Pete Paris. I'm a supervisor with Laketown Township in Carver County. I'm here today to urge you to vote in favor of Senate File 3834. There are about 600 households in Laketown Township, and 204, or about a third of them, are on the 201 systems. Laketown Township is seeking assistance with funding for an engineering study to determine the best way to deal with our outdated 201 gray water sewer system. In 1976, the cities of Chaska, Victoria, and Waconia entered into an orderly annexation agreement with Laketown Township. In 76, it was assumed that the growth would be fast and the entire township would be annexed within a couple of decades. 46 years later, 78% of the original township is still intact, but will eventually be annexed out of existence per the still valid 1976 agreement. In 1983, Carver County pursued and received the 201 grant from the federal government as part of the Clean Water Act. Using the grant money, the county and the MPCA engineered and designed a system for a series of mounds, sand filters, gray water sewage collector systems to improve and protect the water quality of Lake Bavaria, Pearson Lake, Wrights Lake. These areas had many failing private septic systems adversely affecting the lakes. As part of this agreement, the township is responsible for the ongoing maintenance of these community systems. Laketown Township has maintained the system for 37 years, well past the 20-year lifespan. The original 201 gray water system is still in operation in Laketown Township. These 201 systems, as mentioned, will be eventually annexed to Chaska, Victoria, and Waconia. However, there are currently no plans to annex any of these households within the 201 system. Laketown cannot install and connect sanitary sewer trunk lines to the city sewer systems without their planning and agreement. Laketown has increased the 201 rates to homeowners, making them one of the highest sewer rates in the state. Rehabilitation of key components is prolonging the life of the system, but cannot go on forever. There are signs of impending issues already. With development accelerating again, Laketown would very much like to see long-term planning and collaboration for sanitary sewer to the households in the 201 system. Laketown Township cannot plan and install sanitary sewer trunk lines in what will be 3 different cities. We are keeping the 201 system operational until sanitary sewer trunk lines can be extended to the 201 service areas. Laketown Township has been in communication with Chaska, Waconia, Victoria, and Carver County and have received their support for this endeavor. As one of the 3 supervisors of Laketown Township, it is our responsibility to serve the residents of the township and be responsible to our natural resources. As a Minnesotan, I value our lakes, streams, and rivers and want to do what I can to protect the environment. The system's outlived its life expectancy. We are doing everything in our power to ensure it does not fail. Ultimately, the remedy for the 201 system will ensure the water quality of our lakes and streams. The cost of this engineering study to figure out how to best replace the 201 system with sanitary sewer is $86,000. I urge you to pass Senate File 3834. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that testimony. And I do have a couple questions, and then, Senator, unless you want to add something first, or?
No, go ahead.
The questions I have are just a couple. Have you, Mr. Paris, have you worked with the Clean Water Fund? Have you worked with LCCMR? Have you worked with with legacy funding at all, or is this something that's come up fairly quickly? I see it was introduced on the 9th of the month.
Right. We've been kind of working with a lot of people and trying to get something going. This seems like the avenue right now is once we get the funding for this, for the study, then hopefully we can get on to the bonding bill in a couple of years, and there's hopefully some federal money. We look at this as a partnership. We don't expect our residents to pay zero, but we want to get that cost down. We did I call it a 10,000 view study back in April of 2019, and then the estimate for these residents was $10 million, but that was using the existing trunk line where it goes, and one of those forced mains goes 2 miles, where right now the city of Waconia, the one development of city of Waconia backs right into our one, so it'd be a matter of splitting them, and now development is kind of coming around us, so we're trying to get ahead of it a little bit. This should have been done probably 15, 20 years ago, to be honest with you.
So this is not, you had just one lake here you're talking about?
No, it's 3 lakes. It's Lake Pearson, Lake Bavaria, and Wrights Lake.
And they're all in Laketown?
Correct.
Excuse me, Laketown Township. That was going to be my question. If there's other townships involved, they should be involved, but this is the only one.
No, this is the only township that has this. I believe we're the only ones left in the state of Minnesota that has a 201 gray water system.
And for pre-design, these dollars do seem quite scant. I mean, have you looked into that a little bit? So you're pretty sure with the...
We had the engineers that did our report before, Bolt and Mink. A lot of our stuff is they already have it, so it's just a matter of updating it. As I said, before it was a 10,000 view level. This is going to be the 10-foot underground view, and then collaborate with the cities of saying, hey, we can go here. An example was, I met with the city of Chaska a couple of years ago, and around Lake Bavaria, they said that instead of taking it all out towards Chaska, that it would probably be better to split the system and take part of the ones up on the lake, take that towards Victoria, and the rest goes to Chaska. So we're just trying to get a better idea, and for the cities to open that door of communication with the engineers and with us to say, this is the route we should go.
Sure.
You know.
So just let it be known, I didn't open the door for a request for more money here. I'm just looking at that number, and it's rather small, but it sounds like a lot of work has been done. Any other further questions, members? Seeing none, we'll be laying over. Senator, do you have any final comments?
Just thank you for the time and consideration.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on behalf or against? Seeing none, we'll be laying over Senate File 3834. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Next up, Senator Ruud, we have Senate File 1531. Members, this is a tax revenue allocation modification. The intention of the author, I believe, is to send this to taxes, so we'll be voting on this particular bill. This will be the only one we're voting on. The rest will be laid over. So, Senator Ruud.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a bill that I think you and I have worked on several times over the years, the SCORE grants, which are very important to our counties. And Mr. Chair, I do have the A2 amendment. It's just a small technical amendment on this bill. It simply changes the year in the bill.
Okay, members, do you have the A2 in your packets? Yes, we do. I see you're changing some dates, members. Any discussion on the A2? See none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. The A2 is accepted. Senator Ruud.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Many of you know that the SCORE grants to counties help fund programs for waste reduction and recycling, but SCORE funds have not kept pace with pollution prevention needs, and counties are required to provide a 25% match for SCORE, but often they end up providing 100 to sometimes a 400% match. So our counties could and should be doing more than they currently are able to meet the current state recycling and weight reduction goals. But the recycling programs, as you know, are very expensive. So the counties are mandated by the state to reduce, reuse, and recycle to manage hazardous waste and diverse waste from the landfills and protect the environment and public health to meet states' waste goals. So Senate File 1531, the SCORE recycling grant bill, provides more dollars to recycling to counties to protect our land, water, and air quality and conserve our natural resources and protect Minnesotans from the worst consequences of solid waste management failures like the underground plumes that we have heard in this committee many times. With that, Mr. Chair, I have with me several testifiers, and I'm kind of excited that I have someone from home.
Thank you.
So thank you. I don't know if you drove through the snow this morning or were able to come this evening, but thank you for coming. And so with me today, I have Crow Wing County Commissioner Steve Barrows.
Mr. Barrows, welcome to the committee.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity today to testify in support of Senator Ruud's bill.
Just please identify yourself and then go ahead.
Sorry, I'm Steve Barrows, Crow Wing County Commissioner.
Thank you. Well, go ahead.
So we're here today to testify in support of Senator Ruud's bill, Senate File 1531. And my comments today and those of my colleague, Commissioner Dan Buchholz, are offered on behalf of the Association of Minnesota Counties, the Minnesota Intercounty Association, the Solid Waste Administrators Association, and the Partnership on Waste and Energy. And together we developed a coalition of support for this effort. So we counties make sure solid waste, or as most of us call it, trash, is properly handled, and this is a core function of government. So what began with regulations in cities about the location of a city dump and open burning has evolved into a system that is as complex and as varied as the materials thrown away. The Waste Management Act declares how solid waste should be managed by establishing a waste hierarchy and sets goals for how much waste should be recycled. The Minnesota Waste Management Act is about reducing risk. And it isn't just risk to public health and the environment. While those are essential, the law also has measures to ensure the safety of people that work with waste, whether on a collection truck, at a recycling center, or in a landfill. The law also addresses financial risk. 114 old landfills have been enrolled in the state's landfill cleanup program. And through 2015, the state has spent over $432 million, and the MPCA is projecting another $309 million is going to be required through 2050. That's dollars that we all pay through taxes and insurance costs, a financial burden that will never go away. So preventing future problems and paying as we go can reduce the risk. And related to those landfills, we also support Chair Ingebrigtsen's bill, Senate File 4117, on your agenda today to fully restore funds previously transferred away from that work. Back to daily management of solid waste, though, while this public function is carried out by a network of public and private entities, the state holds only counties responsible for meeting state mandates. And despite this, less than 20% of solid waste management tax revenues are allocated to SCORE grants to fund recycling and reuse programs. For example, and I have 3 examples from Crow Wing County that I want to present. So in 2019, Crow Wing County had to reduce the number of drop-off sites for recycling from 10 to 3 due to the cost of operating those. Number 2, in Crow Wing County, it costs about $3.5 million to develop a cell in our landfill. Originally, the life expectancy of a cell was 6 to 7 years. Currently, we're experiencing or going to see that reduced to 4 to 5 years. Significant cost factor. My third example is in 2020, Crow Wing County received approximately $186,000 of SCORE grant funds, yet the county spent $1,043,000. From that, SCORE grant was 18%, the county taxpayers 82%. So there's many mandates placed on counties that, for example, the planning, the regulating, the operating, the financing, the contracting and evaluating, and that's all done by counties. So most of the costs of achieving state waste recycling goals and requirements are paid by local governments. Senator Ruud's bill, Senate File 1531, will help counties recover SCORE funding from the general fund to better protect public health and the environment as originally intended. I'll now pass it off to Commissioner Buchholz.
Morning, Senators. Hello, I'm Dan Buchholz from Ottertail County. I am pleased to be here along with my Crow Wing County Commissioner Steve Barrows. We're here today to share our perspectives and support for Senate File 1531. In 1988, the face of mounting trash, litter, and illegal dumping problems, the governor created a task force called Select Committee on Recycling and Environment, or SCORE. Among its recommendations was one that resulted in solid waste management tax, which is based on the cost of trash service. Originally designed to help state and local government fund recycling-related programs, the tax now provides nearly $28 million to the general fund. This graph shows how counties in Minnesota have continually stepped forward to fund programs required by the state. What a state contributes has essentially remained steady. Counties have had to find other ways to fund recycling and reuse programs. Some use property taxes due to inadequate SCORE grant allocations. This slide underestimates the local effort because it doesn't show the additional costs paid by cities for recycling-related services. Recycling and reuse programs run by the counties have been successful, but more can be done. In 2019, Minnesota counties had diverted 2.5 million tons of waste to recycling and organic programs. An estimated 1.1 million tons of solid waste has been reduced. For example, in Arteo County, we use SCORE dollars to help offset the cost of our recycling programs. In 2021, we recycled nearly 5 tons of material through our county programs. Despite making progress towards an effective and comprehensive waste management system, more can be done to achieve our conservation and preventive goals. Passage of Senate File 1531 to increase SCORE is truly an investment in Minnesota. The recycling industry employs 37,000 Minnesotans and has an estimated $15.7 billion economic impact. Developing local recycling markets keeps resources, jobs, and business here. We are approaching 6 million tons of trash annually, and now it's time to help us move closer to our recycling goals. Counties in Minnesota respectfully request that the legislature pass Senate File 1531 to restore funding for recycling to the counties, so that we can continue to improve this necessary public service. Thank you. If you have any questions, I brought with me today Zach Freestead, our county solid waste.
Thank you for that, and we'll hold up for questions later. I think we do have one more testifier, Senator, is that correct? Or maybe two even.
I believe just one.
Mr. Carnival?
Mr. Carnival's here.
He's on Zoom.
Oh, he's on Zoom.
Oh.
Mr. Carnival, welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself and go ahead with your testimony. You are muted, I think.
Unmute. There we go. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, we can. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Doug Carnival. I'm a Grand Shea Carnival law firm here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I'm here today representing the Minnesota chapter of the National Waste and Recycling Association, or NWRA. That's an industry association of private sector waste haulers, recyclers, and waste processing facilities. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on Senate File 1531. We appreciate the efforts of Senator Ruud to capture additional solid waste tax revenue that's currently going to the general fund, and our association has long held the belief, as stated in statute, that solid waste tax revenues should be used for solid waste purposes. We fully support greater diversion of recycling materials, including organics, from the waste stream. To that end, as we have always supported increase in SCORE grants to counties to provide more resources for reducing waste and recycling more materials from the waste stream. We support legislation that fairly and equitably distributes additional solid waste tax revenue to the counties for recycling purposes. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we look forward to continued working on this and other matters dealing with solid waste. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Carnival. Do you have any other testifiers, Senator Ruud?
I do not, sir.
Okay. Anybody else would like to testify? For or against? Seems not. I would turn it over to Mr. Mueller for his financial wisdom on this. And members, there's documents in your packet that he may be working off of. I'm not sure, but go ahead, Mr. Mueller.
Mr. Chairman and members, there is a one-page document in your packet that's titled Solid Waste Tax, Environmental Fund, and General Fund Revenues. And it reflects, I want to make a little change to it. It should say with the A2 amendment instead of the A1. Basically what the bill does is currently the allocation of the solid waste tax is 70% to the environmental fund, 30% to the general fund. And what this bill does as amended is gradually changes that over to, in fiscal year 23 would be 75% environmental fund and 25% general fund. That would have about a $5.1 million reduction to the general fund, and that increase would go in the environmental fund and would be allocated for SCORE grants. Currently, the SCORE grants are about 18.45 million per year, and this includes the $700,000 per year that we added in the budget bill last year. So that would add $5.1 million to SCORE grants. For fiscal year 24, I want to make a change here. I had it again at 75%. The bill actually would have to go to 80% to the environmental fund. So instead of another $5.2 million reduction to the general fund and increase to the environmental fund, it would be about $10.5 million. And then again in fiscal year 25, it would be 80%, and that again would be about $10.7 million shift from the general fund to the environmental fund. And then the bill also, in the out years beyond what we usually track, in fiscal year 26 and beyond, would have 100% of the solid waste tax going to the environmental fund. And in those years, that would be about a $30 million switch from the general fund to the environmental fund. And that would all go for SCORE grants. So this bill, as the chair mentioned, would go to the tax committee because they handle the allocations of this tax. It's a tax, and where it goes would be handled by the tax committee, and they would have to deal with the loss of the revenue to the general fund.
Okay, members? Members, any questions? Not seeing any hands. We do have to again vote on this, so Senator Ruud, final comments to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, as we move forward to restoring the 100% that the counties were told that they would get many years ago, and as we had budget deficits, we dipped into funds that maybe helped us balance the budget, but they didn't help the counties do their jobs. And we didn't take the counties' jobs make any less. We just gave them less money. And so as we go forward, I think it's really prudent when we have a budget surplus that we restore the funds going forward that we had promised them in the past. So I'd really appreciate your support. We think that we do this in a very responsible way so that we don't make a big hole in the budget. And so then in the future years, they will get the 100% of the money that they were promised to begin with. So, Mr. Chair, I would appreciate your and the committee's support.
Very good. Senator Ruud, would you like to move your bill?
I would love to, sir.
Senator Ruud moves that Senate File 1531 as amended to pass, to be moved on to Senate Tax Committee. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Senator Ruud. Senator Ruud, I think you have the next one up.
Thank you.
Thank you to the testifiers for coming out. You said snow? I'm sorry. Did you say snow earlier or rain?
Snow.
Oh.
It's snowing at home, Mr. Chair.
Way up there, okay.
Oh, it's just across from you, Mr. Chair. It's coming your way
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, I haven't checked in there yet, so I'll hear about it, I'm sure. Senator Ruud, 3704, Senate File 3704.
Mr. Chair, 3704 is the annual lands bill. This bill has already been thoroughly vetted through the DNR and Susan Damon, and it contains pieces from all over the state of Minnesota that members have brought forth and been vetted. And it's land exchanges and sales that have all been approved beforehand. And so I think, I'm not sure if she's remote here. We have DNR Division of Lands and Mineral Staff Attorney Lori Klein, and also Carlton County Land Commissioner Greg Bernew.
Ms. Klein?
Thank you, Chair, committee members. My name is Lori Klein, and I'm an attorney with the Division of Lands and Minerals at the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. I'll be walking you through the primary fiscal impacts of the 2022 Lands Bill today. As you know, each year the Lands Bill includes amendments to statutes affecting DNR-administered state land or DNR's land transactions, changes to state parks, state recreation areas, or state forest boundaries or designations, authorization to sell certain riparian lands or lands by private sale. The Lands Bill also includes sales of certain county tax forfeit lands and certain other county provisions. The DNR sells various parcels of land each year, including by public auction. A limited number of DNR land sales, for example, riparian lands or private non-auction sales, require legislative authority for the sale, and those requests are made in the Lands Bill. The primary fiscal impacts to the DNR in the 2022 Lands Bill are expected from the DNR land sales provisions in sections 10, 11, 14, 16, and 20. The DNR expects revenue from these sales in fiscal year 2023. Proceeds from the sale of land are deposited into the land acquisition account. I'll briefly walk through these sales. The DNR based the estimated sales proceeds of certain parcels in sections 10, 11, and 14 on current county tax assessed values. Section 10 authorizes the sale of 29.6 acres of surplus riparian state land in Cass County. The assessed value of this parcel is $229,400. Section 11 authorizes the public sale of 9.53 acres of surplus riparian state land in Fillmore County. The assessed value is $38,500. Section 14 authorizes the public sale of 59 acres of surplus riparian land in Itasca County, and the assessed value of those parcels is $1,343,900. For these three land sales, the DNR expects to conduct appraisals of these parcels before offering them for sale, which may result in a substantial change to the value. Appraised values would be more accurate than assessed values. The DNR estimated the sales proceeds of the parcels described in sections 16 and 20, which are the Pine and Sherburne County sales, based on a minimum value process. When lands are estimated at a value of under $100,000, the DNR appraisers apply this minimum value appraisal process to determine land value. Section 16 authorizes the private sale of 2 acres of surplus state land in Pine County. The DNR estimated the potential sales proceeds at $3,000. Section 20 authorizes the private sale of 0.05 acres of surplus riparian state land in Sherburne County for less than market value. The DNR estimates the potential sale proceeds of this parcel at $1,000. Finally, the estimated sale proceeds in parcels in sections 13 and 15 are not expected to generate proceeds, as they are proposed to be transferred to a local unit of government for no consideration. Section 13 authorizes the private sale of approximately 0.55 acres of surplus riparian state land in Hennepin County to a local unit of government. Section 15 authorizes the private sale of Section 15 authorizes the private sale of 30.38 acres of surplus land in Lake County to the city of Two Harbors for no consideration. The total estimated proceeds of the parcels that I've just discussed, the 5 parcels in those sections, is $1,615,800. The Land Bill also authorizes Goodhue County and St. Louis County to sell certain tax forfeited lands. Goodhue County is not expected to earn revenue from the sale of the land authorized in Section 12, as the sale is proposed to be for no consideration. St. Louis County has estimated the sales proceeds of lands authorized in section 19 as $32,600 for one parcel and $3,200 for a portion of another tax parcel that's being sold. This concludes my comments on the primary fiscal impacts of the lands bill, which results from the sales that I've described. Thank you for your time today. I'd be happy to answer any questions on other sections of the lands bill or on the proposed sales.
Thank you. Member, do you have, is there other testifiers that you have?
I believe we have the Carleton County Land Commissioner, Gregory Bernew, and I think he is remote also.
Okay, he's remote. What was the last name? I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. Chair, my name is Gregory Bernew.
There you go. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself and go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chair, my name is Gregory Bernew. I'm the Land Commissioner for Carleton County. I'm here to testify on behalf of Senate File 3704, and following up with Ms. Klein's comments, I will be talking about sections 5 and 6 of the bill. The first on section 5 is to raise the minimum price on county leases from $10,000 or from $12,000 to $50,000, and then also the term from 10 years to 25 years. This is important because many of the infrastructure needs we are looking at across the state on tax forfeit lands, cell towers, armor towers, gravel pits, whatever, these dollars just don't reflect today's values. These numbers were set back at least 15 years ago, prior to my term as being a land commissioner. So we're looking for inflationary adjustments and also a time adjustment. Utilities, when they come in to look to site an armor tower, a cell phone tower, a solar field for energy, they need more than that 10 years. They're looking at 15 plus years in order to make that cost investment work out. So that's what we're looking for in section 5. In section 6, the counties are also looking, and this again, all counties across the state of Minnesota, not just the 15 MACLC counties, looking for the ability to place conservation easements on tax forfeited lands. In 2021, the legislature passed the legislation and the governor signed into law the ability for these conservation easements to be placed on school trust lands. We are looking to the same. We would use these conservation easements to establish potential sites for carbon sequestration, for streamside restoration areas, and more importantly, for wetland banking. Many scientists, members of the SWCD as well as would say that the best place to establish wetland banking is in the county where the impact is being felt. So to have a bank in county for my highway department to rebuild the road and secure some of my wetlands would be cost savings and very beneficial. So we are looking at these conservation after consult with the DNR, because I'll be honest, we don't always know that where our mineral leases are or other items that the DNR feels important. So we have a very symbiotic relationship with the DNR prior to establishing these conservation easements. And with that, I'll end my testimony and take any comments.
Thank you. I believe that does complete the testifiers. Members, any questions of the testifiers? And Senator Ruud, I might let you know that the fiscal note just appeared. I mean, within the last couple of minutes, I've been informed by Mr. Mueller. So Mr. Mueller, go through that if you would, please.
Mr. Chairman and members, the lands bill usually does require a fiscal note because as the DNR explained, a number of these lands does generate a sales. And the revenue from the sales of these lands goes back into what's called a land acquisition account, which is not part of the general fund. It's a set-aside account that they use then to acquire other similar lands. So this bill generates about $1.6 million to the land acquisition account. I believe there is, how many parcels here? It's section 10, section 11, section 13, section 14, Section 15, Section 16, and Section 20 are the sections in the bill that generate money for the land acquisition account. The major one here that I'm seeing is Section 14, the Itasca County Public Land Sale, and that's about $1.3 million of the total amount in the bill. So that's the major piece in the bill that generates the most amount of revenue. So as the chair said, this fiscal note just came in now, and since it is a revenue that we track normally, and it would go out again as an expenditure in some future year whenever the DNR has other lands that it will purchase. But the revenue side of things, we do track this.
So this I understand Mr. Mueller, that it has been posted now? I mean, just
Yeah,
right now?
Mr. Chairman, I did forward it to Jesse, and he, I think, sent it out to the members.
Okay.
And posted it.
So members, it has been sent out. Generally, the lands bill is comes before us very straightforward. I'm not sure where it is in the House. Senator, you probably know where that is. Generally, they come together and it just moves on. I mean, we have one every year, and that's a good thing. You know, our public wonders, do we ever sell any land, or do we always buy land? And we're here to say that yes, occasionally we do sell land and not just purchase land. So if nobody has any questions with regards to the fiscal note, I think it was pretty clear. Mr. Mueller went through the sections of the bill that pertain to that. And I think what I'll do, Senator, is we'll send this off to the Senate Finance Committee. So members, any questions on that? We'll have to take a vote. Any questions? So Senator Ruud
So moved.
moves that 3704 be agreed to and passed and moved on to the Senate Finance Committee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Senator Ruud.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Next up is Senate File 3020, which I'll just go ahead and handle from here. Again, because of the time constraints we do have, and if the testifiers could come forward on Senate File 3020, which is Conservation Reserve Program appropriation to provide state incentives, something that also has been around for a long time, members. Do we have with us today Will Clayton and Craig Ingwald?
Mr. Chair, I'm here via Zoom. This is Will Clayton.
Okay.
Here as well, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. First of all, I'll go ahead with Senate File 3020, and obviously it was referred to this committee. It's an appropriation of $5 million in fiscal year 2023 from the general fund, the Board of Soil and Water Bowser. I understand that we do have. Since yesterday, I believe it was an amendment that's been agreed upon by both Bowser as well as the interested parties. Senate File number 1, or excuse me, the A1 amendment, members, you have in your packets. And I think what we'll have is Mr. Director John Jaski, if he's here, come forward. Must be in the hallway. I think it deserves a little explanation as to what this amendment is about. Welcome to the committee. I'm about to offer the A1 amendment. Could you explain that, please?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, good morning. John Jaski, Executive Director, Board of Water and Soil Resources.
The A1 amendment, to the A1 amendment, Mr. Jaski, and also to the bill as well.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the amendment just simply makes a readability correction on how we would undertake the second part of this piece, which is to enroll, first of all, provide incentive payments to landowners who are enrolling in the Federal Conservation Reserve or CRP program. We believe that's important in the time that we're at right now because of the land values that are increasing. And of course, the federal government payment rates are set and they eventually catch up. But right now, of course, it takes a while for that to happen. So we think it could be very useful to have some dollars available to provide an incentive on top of that existing federal payment to entice landowners to enroll their land in these conservation areas. And again, these are aiming at the lands that have the most environmental benefit, and typically those are the areas where we have least production in terms of cropping investments too. So that's the first part of it, and that change that you just described, Mr. Chairman, via the amendment would also allow us to enroll areas in and around those in conservation easements if the landowner wished to do that, to kind of, as we describe it, round out the area of enrollment so that they can enroll a whole area, for example, along a creek or some other water body. So that's the idea. There would be two components to this, basically left to landowner choice as to which of them made sense for them.
Members, any questions? I had a conversation with Director Jaski before the meeting, and it's very clear this isn't going to be used that terribly often, but if it is available, land runs between projects, usually compromised land, compromised being non-productive land. If it's productive land, it has to be CREP land. So I think it's something that would actually work out quite well. So members, any questions about that? Seeing none, then I will offer the A1 amendment to 3020. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, very good. And I also have with us Mr. Clayton.
Yes, Mr. Chair and members, my name is Will Clayton. I'm a senior regional representative for Pheasants Forever, and on behalf of this, I'm happy to express our support for SF 320 Conservation Reserve Program state incentives. As I mentioned in my day job, I'm a senior field rep for Pheasants Forever. I serve our vast chapter network of dedicated conservationists as well as our 20,000 plus paying members here in Minnesota. But I started my career as a farm bill wildlife biologist in Swift County, where I worked extensively with willing landowners to identify areas that may be eligible for CRP. I wrote hundreds of contracts and likely enrolled and re-enrolled thousands of acres. Each project was different. Each landowner made the decision to enroll for different reasons. It's also worth noting that I'm fortunate enough to own a small farm with my uncle in western Minnesota, and we have roughly 50 acres enrolled in CRP as well. It's been in my family for many years, and I credit CRP and this farm in particular for setting sort of my career path for conservation. The benefits of CRP are well established, and I like that this bill is focusing on the continuous enrollment period and also mentions enrolling complementary areas in conservation easements. The thought that some of these dollars could be used to incentivize permanent conservation easements is intriguing, obviously, especially if they're used in the CREP program where they may help generate that 2-to-1 federal match. But regardless, CRP and continuous CRP practices tend to focus on greatest resource concern areas. They generally target marginal and underproducing areas like wetlands, floodplains, and acres with the highest potential for soil erosion. So continuous practices include filter strips and riparian buffers. They provide a cushion between crop fields and adjacent rivers, ditches, or water sources. When native grasses are often planted on these buffers, these grasses have deep root systems that help stabilize banks during more frequent periods of high water. CRP wetlands, both floodplain and non-floodplain, restore some of our prairie pothole wetlands and the adjacent upland areas. These sites store water on the landscape, filling once-drained wetlands that can be now used by migratory birds, shorebirds, other wetland critters, and the adjacent uplands are often planted to a mix of native grasses and forbs. And then lastly, CRP safe or pollinator, which is also a continuous practice. These programs bump the seeding standard. They require a more diverse mix of native grasses and forbs, and diversity of seed often creates diversity of wildlife using the site. Pollinators are critical to our food systems, and incentivizing the establishment of their habitat is a good idea. And to be honest, these sites are also known to produce a few pheasants, which doesn't hurt the bird dog that's snoozing behind me. But my point is, These are all good practices for Minnesota. We have ongoing issues with water quality, water storage, soil erosion, and planting native grasses and forbs helps mitigate all of that. If an added state incentive is the tipping point between a large restored wetland along the Minnesota River and not, I'm in favor of adding that extra incentive. And I've seen firsthand that the decisions that landowners make, soil rental rate, cost of installation is almost always the tipping point between enrolling or not. It's economics for these producers. Since 2005, 400,000 acres have transferred out of CRP in Minnesota. Right now, there's only so many acres available. CRP is capped by the federal farm bill, and when you're capped, you're capped. So I'm a little biased, of course, but I want Minnesota to enroll as many of those capped acres as we have demand for, and this bill can certainly help us do that. So in closing, Chair and members of the committee, I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts and Pheasants Forever's support for Senate File 3020 Conservation Reserve Program State Incentive. Thank you.
Mr. Clayton, thank you very much, and I'm sure you'll stick around for questions. Mr. Ingwall?
Yes, Mr. Chair and members, my name is Craig Engwall. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association, and I'm here to testify on behalf of our 60 chapters and members across the state. And I'm happy to shorten my testimony to help you out with the length of this hearing today.
Thank you. Thank you.
One of MDHA's foundational pillars is to work on improvements for habitat for deer and all of Minnesota's wildlife. And this bill to incentivize participation in the CRP program, as well as conservation easements under Minnesota's Reinvest in Minnesota program, is exactly the type of habitat legislation that MDHA believes is necessary for Minnesota's deer and wildlife. Far too often, when people think of deer habitat in Minnesota, they think of the North Woods, and yet in the farmed areas of the state, grasslands provide essential habitat for deer. Deer like to utilize the early successional vegetation in warm season grasses, legumes, and forbs of CRP and other properly managed grasslands throughout the year. These habitats offer critical areas for fawning, bedding, escape, food, and travel. In addition, CRP and effective grassland management creates outstanding edge habitat, which is needed by deer. The linear edges of CRP tracts are used as travel corridors by deer, and these corridors connect large patches of suitable habitat within a landscape dominated by fields of row crops. Deer are more likely to move through these corridors or pathways than across open harvested fields. Minnesota, like other Midwestern states, has lost hundreds of thousands of acres of CRP over the past decade. It's vitally important that we stem this tide of habitat loss, and Senate File 3020 can play an important part in improving Minnesota's habitat for deer and other wildlife. MDHA appreciates having the opportunity to testify in support of this bill, and we look forward to continuing on in this process. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you, Mr. Ingwall. Members, any questions? Any questions before we move forward? Okay. I guess we won't be moving too forward. We will be holding this over. Senate File 3020 as amended be held over for possible inclusion. Thank you. And the next one up is 3162, Senator Eichorn. Grant program establishment, appropriation, investment in nature and gamesmanship education.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I understand you have some testifiers as well. I could join you at the table if you can. Or
we do have some testifiers. We're going to have the executive director of MnFish, and then Bob Meyer from the DNR is also going to testify. I do have a small amendment, Mr. Chair, that we do want to offer today just to clean up one little section of the bill. And then I know this is getting laid over. There may be a few additional changes at a later point, but I do have one small amendment for today. It's the A1 amendment.
Do we have the A1 amendment?
It'll get passed out. Staff still has it.
She's passing it out. We'll pass it out before we move forward.
Do you want me to speak to the amendment quick, Mr. Chair?
Is it real small, short?
It is small.
Yeah,
just a couple lines. So the A1 amendment would take section subdivision 1B of the bill. That section of the bill spells out the Leech Lake Band, Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, Red Lake Band, Chippewa Indians, Lower Sioux Reservation. It doesn't specify all the tribes, and a couple of it encompasses all the tribes, but it doesn't name all of them. There was a couple bands that had asked initially when we did this a couple years back to be listed, and some didn't want to be listed. So just to be more encompassing of all of them, we changed the language to say that the DNR must consult with representatives from Minnesota tribal governments as defined in Minnesota statutes, section 10.65. So all the tribal governments will still be included. It just cleans up the language a little more instead of specifying some and not the others.
So all the tribes would be included in the Minnesota State Statute on line 1.3.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. And again, it just cleans it up. The DNR has already done this work because this is kind of a rejacket of a bill we've done in the past and passed. So again, this is work that the DNR has already actually completed.
Members, any questions on the A1 amendment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Senator, to your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to hear Senate File 3162. I'd like to thank the co-sponsors, Senator Ruud, Jasinski, Bach, and Hoffman. This is a bill, as I mentioned, that we've heard before. It kind of arose out of an article I saw in the state of Iowa. They were requiring as part of their K-12 curriculum, as part of their Phi-Ed classes, that their students there receive firearm safety. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be a great thing if we could have that in Minnesota? You know, even if somebody's not going to be a hunter, the odds that they encounter a firearm in this state are pretty high, and at least they would know how to safely handle a firearm. I thought being just firearms might be a tough sell, so why don't we take what they did and make it kind of a Minnesota solution and broaden it and encompass all the things we like to do in this state. So we expanded it to say firearm safety, trap shooting, archery, hunting, and angling, still in physical education courses. We didn't make it a mandate for schools, but we opened it up as kind of a grant program where someone from the DNR could come in and teach some of these classes. So Section 1, that grant program exists again. Eligibility would be either a school district, or we wanted to make sure our American Indian schools or the BIE schools were included, so we spelled them out in subdivision 2. We require that there will be a report from the commissioner back to the legislature. Then there's an appropriation. The first year appropriation I think we did when we initially did this, I think was $500,000 each year. Then we upped it to $1 million. And my understanding when I had a conversation with Mr. Meyer was that we're kind of going through this money in a quick hurry. There's a lot of demand for it. When we initially did this, we didn't know what the demand would be. So the appropriation we put in now was $5 million for 2022 and $5 million for 2023. And then we also wanted to make sure that this program could continue, so we didn't have to come back to you every 2 years to make sure that this good program would continue. So we did put that in the base for fiscal years 2024 through 2031, also at $5 million per year. The money that's used, the DNR can use it obviously to create the curriculum, personnel costs, reporting costs, school staff training if needed, outdoor sports licenses. Kind of the initial thought we had was, you know, a kid goes through hunter safety or angling training, they get their first hunting or fishing license for free. We know that our licenses are declining in the state, and we want to find ways to get the next generation of kind of conservation-minded folks in the woods and on the water, so that way we build that next generation and can grow our hunting and fishing in this state and conservation in this state. And that's really what this bill is about. The other thing this bill would do, if you remember, Mr. Chair, you and I worked on provisions initially in one of these bills, and somebody had wanted to name it "No Child Left Inside." We're going to kind of change it a little bit to be, some people don't like the name, something a little more in tune with what this is. It's a grant program, so the name would change to the Investment in Nature and Gamesmanship Education Grants. So that's what it would change to. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to our testifiers, and then I'll have a few closing comments after questions, Mr. Chair.
So excuse me, Senator, it is close to and similar to the No Child Left Inside bill.
It is the same thing.
Same thing, okay.
Yep.
Okay, who'd like to go first?
Go ahead.
The DNR.
Good morning,
Welcome.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I am not Bob Meyer. I am Annalee Garlitz with the Department of Natural Resources. And I just, I wanted to thank Senator Eichorn for bringing this forward and including administration costs in here for the DNR. We're very supportive of getting kids outside involved in nature, angling, hunting, all the activities that are found in nature. One of the things that we've reached out to the senator about is seeing if maybe, because there is such a great demand in this for all kinds of groups, seeing if there's a potential to increase this outside of schools to nonprofit groups, community groups, just because with the No Child Left Inside program and some other programs we've had over the years, there is a great interest in community and maybe more non-traditional groups outside of schools. So we want to engage in some conversations in that going forward. And with that, we just thank you for working with us on this, and I'll
Thank you.
be open for questions.
If you can just hang there for some questions if there are. Okay. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Mark Holston. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Fishing, Sport Fishing Foundation and Coalition.
Maybe I should address you as Commissioner.
Well, it would be former Commissioner.
Former Commissioner of the DNR, members that don't recall, that haven't been around near as long as Senator Dibble and myself. I'm gonna toot your horn a little bit here, because I know the guys you work with at Minfish, you don't toot your horn very often. But I did, in my first week, maybe even first month, within a month, contacted the commissioner, not met him before, not talked to him before, and I had an emergency to resolve. And in contacting him, that emergency was resolved, I think, within less than a week's time. And I thought, boy, this is going to be an easy place to work. All I got to do is get a hold of my commissioner and the problem's resolved. But I just had to put that in there. I still talk about that, and it was, and I can, if anybody cares, I'll tell you what it's about later. But it was a great, great experience, I think, especially when some agencies really get pounded on around here. That was a very good experience. So. And I believe you're also on the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage. Is that correct? You have been for some time?
That's correct. I'm also a member of the Lessard Sam's Commission with Senator Dibble.
Okay. But you're representing...
And Senator Lang. You know what?
Senator Lang.
You know what? I looked over here. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Well, welcome to the committee, Senator Lang. Yes. So we're outnumbered here rather than. Go ahead.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, for those of you who, my history does go back a little further than being commissioner. I did serve in the Minnesota House from.
You were in that other body, weren't you? Yes.
I was in the other body.
I forgot to mention that, but we don't mention that much around here.
I thought at times I would like to aspire to be a senator, but I do look fondly back at my 10 years back in the Minnesota House, where I also chaired the Environment Finance Committee over on that side, and had great experiences and enjoyed my negotiating times with the Senate. But Mr. Chair, I'm here today on a different matter as the executive director of this organization. It's an organization, for those of you who don't know, came to life 3 years ago. A group of very avid anglers, passionate anglers, people involved in the angling industry, came together to try to provide what they felt was a lack of voice for the average angler in Minnesota here at the legislature, and also to support the Department of Natural Resources in managing our fishing here in Minnesota. So when we look at Minnesota and we recognize the industry that fishing creates, the passion that anglers have and the dollars that they spend, it's over a $4 billion industry here in Minnesota. It generates nearly $300 million of tax revenue to the state. And this organization is interested in seeing those dollars reinvested back into its state's infrastructure of fishing, but also the people, and those people being youth education and youth recruitment into the sport. It's a great opportunity that we come together with Senator Eichorn and the Senate to be here in support of our mission at Minfish, which is one of those items being education of youth and recruitment of our youth.
Great. I know it's fairly new organization. I don't know all the members that are on your organization. I know there's a couple on there that could actually use a little bit of this instruction when it comes to fishing. And I think they know who they are. Now, I'll refrain from naming names, so. Members, any questions of the testifier? I believe that completes your testifiers, Senator?
Yeah, that's the only testifiers I'm aware of that signed up for today, Mr.
Any
Chair.
questions, members?
I have a question.
Senator Torres-Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I kind of like the idea of directing this funding to schools. Senator, I think it's kind of an innovative thing, and I understand that DNR may have some hesitation, but the reason I like this is because I think we have a better measure of accountability. We are going to know, how many students registered, what districts, what regions, and really understand, what schools are doing to promote this. One of the concerns that I have with some of the programs that we have at the state level is that we have no measure of accountability, and that's why we have had the problems that we have had with some of the federal dollars that were provided to nonprofit organizations. They were just given with no measure of accountability, and that is very disturbing to me. So I would like to ask DNR's opinion with respect to that, because from my perspective, I think the senator is proposing something that would be interesting, I think, especially if we are able to measure the ability of some of the districts to really, some of them may have grants themselves, they might have, innovative ideas to use these dollars that we can replicate in other districts and share that information. So I'd like to ask DNR's opinion on that issue, and if you have a different opinion, I would like to know why.
Very good question. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Senator Torres-Ray, thank you for that question. We do have some experience with some of this grant making to community groups, to schools, to a variety of people through the No Child Left Inside program that was mentioned before. And I do have some information about the programs those dollars were spent on, where they went, the number of youth that were able to use dollars spent by those programs. So I would be happy to get that information to the committee. In terms of just, DNR is just suggesting that we expand this program just because there are a lot of other nonprofits, youth groups, what else do we have listed? Just because we know there's applicants that have come in for the No Child Left Inside program from outside, from nature centers, libraries, just a wide variety of people who work with kids, after-school programs, summer programs. And because this is a larger amount of money, we just want to make sure that it's open for a variety of people that work with kids. So I don't know if we just wanted to make sure that the money got used and was able to get out there. So I can share how the No Child Left Inside dollars have been allocated, and maybe that would be of interest to the committee.
That would be great to send it to all the members, I think. Senator Torres-Ray, any follow up on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would be very interested in that information, and I am interested in kind of a more descriptive part of that program, because many times, people say, we made, the information available to a flyer. So like, okay. And we spent significant amount of money, putting together a flyer in a park that was available about a program that I don't know if it exists or it doesn't. So I'm very interested in the practicality of these, grants and how we can ultimately get to the child and make sure that they are involved in programs, that they actually receive the funding to participate literally in a program, not just be advised to participate in something that just does not exist for them. So I appreciate that information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I believe subdivision 3 of the bill talks about reporting to the DNR. The report must be in writing. So I'm anxious as well, Senator, to find out the information. What's always interesting when, different committee, but when you talk about library and where the library reaches out and how far they reach out, and and where they spend their resources, and they come with a map, and it shows each and every county, and that kind of stuff is great for legislators to understand. Pictures are always good. I would ask a question, if I could, to the DNR as well. There was talk about it being a huge ask here. Obviously, the money is going up pretty heavy here. You see a lot of need here then? I mean, you had to turn down a bunch of people apparently from the other funding source, is that correct?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I can get the exact numbers of the amounts that came in for the previous grant allocations that we had, and I can get that to you. I do know that the first day that the grant was put forward for applicants, we received so many that, and we didn't have the staff to go through everything. We had to turn off the grant applications because we were absolutely overwhelmed with the number that came in. There's a huge need and a huge interest that's been demonstrated.
That's great. That's
so I can get that information to you all as well.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to Senator Torres Ray's comments, the DNR has two very specific programs that are engaged in this. One is called the Minocqua program, and that is more classroom-based. And then the other one is the FIN, Fishing in the Neighborhoods program, which is the practical side of it, where they actually stock ponds, stock lakes, and utilize shore fishing and fishing piers, and bring actual rods and reels and people to actually do education with the kids in the neighborhoods. There are a myriad of schools who are using this program currently and accessing that in the classroom and practical application out into the field. But as the DNR spoke earlier, there are a number of different organizations, whether they be your city, regional parks, or nonprofit organizations who would be able to access these dollars if it's broadened out, who provide very similar types of programs throughout the summer and now into the winter and ice fishing. So we really see this as a win-win for everybody and an expansion on an already really good program.
Good. As we say, we need to get them off the couch, right? Get that thing out of their hand and put a different thing in their hand. It's called a fishing rod and or a gun. And you know, everybody's afraid when you bring up the word gun, but you know, there's an appreciation for guns, and also a not appreciation for guns overall when you just talk about that. And I've always thought instructing kids on how to handle a weapon, should they find one, even as simple as that. All you go coming from school and there's one laying there, how do I handle that weapon, you know? That in itself is something that we should be constantly talking to our kids about, and there's again, rural appreciation for guns is different than the metro, and I certainly understand that. Any further questions? Senator Torres Ray.
Senator, you mentioned of guns and making them available to young people. Maybe you would appreciate to know that there were 6 teenagers shooting guns in my neighborhood last night. And so I don't appreciate that opportunity of children having access to guns. Yeah. I completely oppose that. We have a significant problem in my district with teenagers that are out in the streets with guns. So I want to leave on the record that I'm completely opposed to that effort to make guns available to kids.
Yeah, I knew I was going to touch a little bit of a button there, but just understand that there is an appreciation by all Minnesotans about guns, and if they're used properly, that's what we're talking about here. Is we're talking about educating our youth about how to handle weapons like that, and you're talking about people that are kids that are handling them in the wrong fashion, obviously, and with horrible results, and that is a whole different issue, I think. But I certainly take your comments very, very seriously and very well. So, members, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, this Senator, it'll be held over for possible inclusion. 3162, Senate file. Thank you all. Thank you very much for coming.
All right.
Members, that concludes, or I guess we're going to go into a recess?
What's that?
Yeah, we'll recess the committee until 5 o'clock tonight.
Mr. Chair, before you leave.
And we'll be, and we'll be meeting in 1200. The big room. Senator Dibble.
Commissioner of Education and I.
Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Torres Ray, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a question with respect to targets. I don't know, we're hearing a number of bills. So a couple of questions to you. One, do we know of a target? I'm excited if you get a big target. You have some good bills, and it would be exciting to pass some of these bills. And the second one is kind of really the difference between some of the bills that are being heard at the other house and then here, and they don't have companions. Are we working towards figuring that out, or we will continue in this direction?
Well, I can't speak to the bills as to whether they're being heard over there. We think they're good bills here. That's why we're bringing them forward. I do work with consistently with my counterpart in the other body, and obviously we don't match everything up. So we're going to be talking about a fairly significant bill moving forward here. But as far as dollars, no, I haven't got a target yet, and just know I'm asking that question myself on a daily basis. So when that happens, you will be the first to know, at least for sure, in this committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Members, we stand in recess till 5 o'clock, room 1200.